Hey guys, it's your host, Justin Guzman. Now, I'm a native San Franciscan, and there's something I want everybody to remember about this murder. So, firstly, is the area, south of Market area, is an affluent area. There's businesses everywhere, and there's a bunch of affluent people, meaning people who have money. There's cameras everywhere there. I don't care if it's 2:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the daytime. Something's going to be caught on camera if it happens there. Now, the first red flag for me is initially there was no footage put out. Now there has been footage, and we'll go over that footage in a moment. But before I get to that, the second point I'd like to make is there's been no autopsy produced. Now, autopsies are performed for several reasons, including the following. When a suspicious or unexpected death occurs, when there's public health concern, when no doctor knows the deceased well enough to state a cause of death, and to sign the death certificate. Cause of death needs to be listed on the death certificate. Okay, so what can an autopsy possibly tell us if there was any foul play? Well, I know we're all used to seeing sensationalized news reports of murders, quite frankly, all the time. And when someone is stabbed, the number of times the victim is stabbed is usually reported, as well as where exactly on the body the person took this life-ending injury or injuries. And in all the news reports that I've read so far, this information is clearly being shied away from. But why? It has taken 3 days for the vague details that he was stabbed more than once somewhere in the chest area. Now, as of today, April 7th, there was a 4-inch kitchen knife announced as retrieved at the scene, but still no arrest or suspects. No mention of fingerprints, and what keeps this thing smelling fishy is there's conveniently only footage of him right after the stabbing. Some people are saying it was a hit, and no, I don't know if it was or not. But these are some of the questions I think we should be asking. Was he stabbed in areas on his body that professional killers normally access? What do I mean by that? Like convicts who have no guns but tons of knives and learn to use them as an art form. Not just convicts, but hitmen. In Spanish, they're called sicarios. They learn areas on the bodies to exploit so that death is swift, or to at least ensure that the person will bleed out, which means die from losing too much blood. Also, the number of stab wounds sometimes indicates if it was a crime of passion, or maybe one of a premeditated nature. When somebody loses it and goes crazy and is in a fit of rage, they tend to stab people many times. The word overkill comes to mind. And a sign of a professional premeditated murder would be one where there were minimal stab wounds, indicating it was done quickly with the intention of not being discovered and for the victim to die. And why all the paranoia about it being a hit? Well, it just seems odd to me that at the same time the FedNow is being announced, this happens to this particular man in this particular city, a creator of one of the most popular digital payment services out there, Cash App, and a man with these types of credentials. He was a man of vast knowledge of Google, having had worked there for 2 decades. For Square, he was the chief technology officer, and at MobileCoin, he was the chief product officer, and not to mention an angel investor and a serial entrepreneur. Now, what is the problem with a man like this? An angel investor who has his hands in money in many products all across the board, and an inventor of Cash App, an app where you can buy Bitcoin from. So, knowing that he was an inventor and an angel investor, he probably had some products coming out that may or may not have been getting in the way of FedNow. And for our last little fun fact, he had just moved his whole family to Florida and was only going to be in San Francisco for 1 day. Now, how about FedNow? What is it exactly? Well, here's a little more on that.
Goodbye Zelle, goodbye PayPal, goodbye Venmo. Every app that you have on your phone that is a payment processor, say goodbye and welcome to FedNow. FedNow should be launching in July 1st or so, and that's going to be the new payment processor. It's supposed to be able to transfer payments 365, 7 days a week, 24/7. Now, it's all fun and nice and dandy or whatever, but here is the problem. This is where things get bad, right? We're also accustomed to quick, fast, and in a hurry. We want it right now. Now, that's what they're promoting. But here's the big issue. FedNow will be the funnel that all money gets cycled through. It will go from your bank to FedNow to wherever you're trying to send the money to. So for instance, if you're trying to buy something from Instacart or anything you're buying online, Amazon, it's going to go from your bank to FedNow to Amazon, Walmart, wherever it is you're going to. Now, this is a problem. This is a major problem because now the federal government has full access to your bank account. And not just that, in the fine print, it says that the FedNow is programmable. Now, those of you guys that don't understand what programmable means, Let me break this down to you.
Interesting, right? So I did mention there was some video released to the police, not the public, of him stumbling away and bleeding out. The poor guy even walked up to a car and lifted his shirt and showed a random person the severity of a wound he had, trying to get help. But the person just drove off. Sad. There was no other clear details of his wound or wounds, other than it referred to as a wound under his shirt by one publication and wounds by another. How did this happen in an area that has so many cameras? But coincidentally, only the moments after the attacker was gone was captured. Super stinky, man. I mean fishy. That said, I'll be the first to admit that yes, this can all be coincidental. Killed in a city where most crimes including violence isn't prosecuted, mugshots aren't allowed because it's supposedly racist, and there's very little policing, no camera footage, and an untraceable murder weapon. But nah, nothing suspicious there. Sure, in the world we're living in nowadays, nothing seems to be coincidental, but hey, it could be.